So today let's talk about what might be the most important thing on a seller's mind, which is pricing of their home. Now, the rabbit hole that listing agents on average and sellers fall down is thinking everything revolves around the list price. The actual sales price of the home matters, obviously, but what we have to look at is what the actual net in your pocket as a seller is. And there are multiple ways to be able to get there. And that is actually where the true competency of the agent you hire to represent you in the sale of your home lies. And yes, I'm repping Upland High School water polo today. So the first thing that we need to address today is what's called an anchoring bias. And you see this everywhere you shop, which is the price sets expectations of what you're getting for the dollars that you're being asked to spend. Now, this is important because when you think of things as simple as designer jeans or as complicated as, let's say, an automobile purchase, the price of the vehicle, as stated, sets the beginnings of the negotiation. Now, I bet a lot of you aren't negotiating over buying name brand jeans, but the same thing holds true. That's our starting point mentally, emotionally, psychologically, as a buyer. For this price, there is something that I'm going to be receiving. And I want that to be the best that it is for the money I'm spending. And if it's not, I will spend my money elsewhere. So this is why you see car manufacturers, let's say Honda with the Acura brand. Well, most of the Acuras are built off of the same basic framework and engine as a Honda, but the price point's different. So some buyers will see extra value in having that name brand, typically different body styling, a little bit different interior, and maybe, and usually, thicker glass. You see the same thing with, let's say, Toyota and Lexus. Same holds true. So when you're making the decision on how to price a home for sale, you have to remember that in this market, buyers are seeing that as an anchoring point. It actually matters less about the comps and more about where we are starting the negotiation and what, when they dive into your property, they feel they're receiving. It's very easy for anybody, including you, to go on Zillow and get a zestimate on what a home is worth. But in the long run, everything shows that that means a lot less to buyers right now than knowing where the starting price is for the acquisition of that house. Now look, if you price the home too high to start with, you're not going to have people making offers. Buyers in this market are not going to be out looking at homes that are priced higher than other alternatives they have, and then feeling like they can write you a deal. So the mindset that you're going to anchor the price way up high and that you'll negotiate down realistically is going to cause you, at least by the current National Association of Realtor stats, it's going to make you sell for at least 8% lower, even after you adjust the home to the correct sales price. So you'll be 8% below that. Now, if you price the home too low, which is a different conversation now than we would have been having, let's say, 2 years ago. You couldn't have underpriced a home to save your life 2 years ago because you would have had 23 offers that would have bid the price up to what the top of the market would support. Then it was the agent's job to make sure we could actually close that buyer, which is the real magic. But when we dig into the weeds, we don't want to go too low in this market because then we're automatically going to anchor the price lower, and it is likely that a buyer or buyers are going to think that there might be something wrong with your home. The same is true when you overprice it and it sits on the market longer than average. Now, we are in a weird stage because right now, homes are sitting on the market across the country longer than they were 12 months ago. Not everybody's gotten used to that. I think agents that have even been in the business, let's say what I still consider a newbie, 7-8 years, are used to homes selling within 30, 45 days. In the history that I've been in this, the last 30 years, that's not normal. Normal is having to market the home for 60 to 90 days in order to come to a negotiation that's acceptable to a buyer and seller and actually close the transaction. Not everybody's adjusted to this yet. But you as the seller and the agent you hire for the job of selling your home needs to be up on this information and be able to explain that to a buyer's agent so that they can relay that to a buyer. Because remember, when we get into negotiations with buyers, it's not the seller and the buyer negotiating directly. You're negotiating through two other parties that represent you, a buyer's agent and a listing agent. And it's the listing agent's job to understand what we call shuttle negotiations in order to help train the buyer's agent how to present what your wants and needs are and why that's fair to the buyer, and then also set your expectations as the seller to be realistic so you're not surprised and you can make wise and informed decisions. So anchoring bias works everywhere. And it's very important that the price of your home is set right the first time. Yes, we can always do price reductions. And when the market is fluid and things are changing, that's necessary sometimes. But I prefer to go in with the facts to show you who is buying, why they're buying the homes they are in your area, what their deals look like, by getting the information directly from the listing agent, the buyer's agent of the closed sales, not just giving you random facts that are averaged of, well, this is what everybody's selling for square footage, so I guess that's where we price this one. You want to know the story behind why buyers were making the decision to buy your neighbor's home and what we can do marketing-wise, not only price positioning, but also marketing and negotiation-wise to make sure that when your home goes on the market, you're the first one that sells and all those other agent signs and all your other neighbors' signs still stay up long after you've closed escrow and gotten your money. And that is the difference between approaching this from an understanding of the psychology that is driving buyers in today's market. And that's why it's so important.